Okay. Okay. How's it going, folks? Appreciate your patience on that. Having some difficulties as usual. You know how it goes. Seems like there's always something that comes up. My computer's having issues. I don't know what. Kind of upset about that because that's a brand new computer. It's not even a year old yet, and it wants to not start up. I don't know what that is, but the screen won't turn on, and I have to. It wouldn't restart either, which is really weird. So I had to manually power it off. Luckily that worked because it took a few tries for it even to register that. So I don't know what's going on, but pretty frustrating. So anyways, I appreciate your. Hold on, now I'm having another issue here. Here we go. Yeah, this is strange. Now I'm having a. Okay. Bear with me, folks. I'm having another issue on Restream right now. Yeah. Let me try something else here. Actually, chat, please enables here. Why did it get disabled? That is so strange. Chat app. Huh. Okay, I think it's working. Let me know if actually if one of you guys can, if anybody's watching, be as so kind as to type in something. I want to make sure that the restream is still working, the chat, because for some reason it decided to log me out of that and then kind of diverted me to a different section. So that was really weird. Let's close that guy. Oh, there we go. Oh, hopefully it's working. Maybe I'll turn on the Facebook chat just in case as well. That is so weird that it's doing that. Now it's including that in my. Okay. Well, hopefully that's working. Man, that is frustrating. Okay, bear with me here. Okay. Videos. Huh, okay. Well, hopefully it works. Hopefully there's nothing going on. Let me know if there's something noticeable on your guys' end with the video or audio. Hopefully this restream chat is working because that's not doing what it's supposed to. So, but anyways, welcome back. Appreciate your patience. Like I said, it's really tough trying to get focused when that's happening. You know what I mean? It just completely derails me. I'm sitting there trying to figure out technical difficulties, and it doesn't help when I don't leave myself enough time sometimes, which that part is my own fault, but you know how it goes. But yeah, welcome back, episode 53, I believe. And yeah, if you've been tuning in live or on the streams and or been watching videos on your own time, I appreciate that. And if you've ever been sharing or subscribing, liking our stuff, following us in any regard, I really appreciate that. And you guys taking the time to peep out the channel. Like I said, it's not going to go anywhere without a little bit of momentum and traction and people actually taking an interest. And hopefully I can provide enough value where people can relate to some of this stuff because I do understand I might be talking about some stuff that's unrelatable, and I want to focus more on stuff that is more relatable, because we have more common things in each other than we'd like to actually think. Everybody likes to think we're so different, but we're a lot more common than we think. But yeah, I appreciate you guys following, and yeah, welcome to 53 here. So let's get going. Let me wet my beak real quick. Feel like I've been talking all day. I've been on sales appointments in Seattle, and so it literally, it requires me to talk a lot, and so I go do that for 5 hours of the day, and then come here, squeeze in some food, and then I'm going to be talking for another couple hours. So sometimes you get that dry mouth, and it's pretty I didn't realize how exhausting it is to talk. Like, I feel bad for like people who have to speak in front of tons of people all the time for a living. There must be some kind of exercises that people do to sustain that longevity, because I don't know any of those tricks right now. It's just like dry mouth and my throat gets all scratchy. I'm like, this is crazy. It's got to be some techniques I'm gonna have to start looking into to make sure that I can continue to talk, since that's a huge part of my life. Excuse me. Especially with podcasting, it requires me to talk all the time. So something I'm just starting to find out, and especially with, when I did the co-hosting, a little bit of that was relieved, because Danny would speak too, and so it kind of helped split up the speaking a little bit anyway. But yeah, here we are, episode 53. Got a few things to talk about, but first let me give you the plugs real quick. If you're not familiar where you can find us or subscribe to us or follow us or share the channels, it's going to be on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And so any one of those platforms, give some love and keep coming back. All right, I talk about a lot of different things, and I talk about some things that I personally think that we could all benefit from, in my opinion. Some of the stuff is stuff that I've implemented, it's stuff that I benefit from. It's just advice, skills that I learn. A lot of what I talk about is self-improvement based, if you haven't noticed already. And then we talk about things that are just kind of happening in the world, and current events and things like that. And I like to get your guys' viewpoints on it, or as we like to call it, the viral viewpoint, and talk about some contagious combos that we kind of derive from these topics and the things that are actually happening right now. So yeah, and so let's see here. Without further ado, I'm going to start getting into some of this stuff, but before I do that, I'm going to start another little segment here that's it's very simple. It's just, I'm going to ask you guys a question at the beginning of the podcast, and if anybody's streaming live, or if anybody is watches this later on, they could always type in their answers or whatever response that they have to this question. Just something to kind of kick around in your head while we're actually going through the podcast. But the segment, I'm just going to call it Quick Question. So I'm just gonna have a question for you guys, and yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. So my quick question for today is going to be, you've heard me talk about this. It's are you an excuse maker or a problem solver? And what are you doing right now that will gain you a new skill or give you an advantage in moving forward with your life or things that you want to be involved in? So that's a quick question. All right. Are you an excuse maker or are you a problem solver? And then two-part question, I guess you would say, what are you doing right now that will give you a new skill or give you an advantage in your life? All right. So the contagious combo for today is comfort. I've probably talked about this quite a bit. I'm almost certain I have. I know I've talked about it on my own time or with somebody else. I may very well have covered this here or there in an episode prior, one of the earlier episodes. And so being comfortable is something I really am aware of, and I want to talk about a little bit more and I flipped that over for a reason and then flipped it back. So, okay. So yeah, being comfortable, what I really want to talk about is just how being comfortable has really just damaged me from actually, moving forward and being better. It's such a freaking, it detains you from actually doing anything. And it's, in my opinion, it is an excuse, being comfortable is an excuse to not do anything. And the sad thing is a lot of people are okay with it. And there's many reasons people are okay with it, because it is that shield of not having any expectations or someone having expectations on you, or even thinking that you're capable of something else. So it's just a dangerous thing to hold on to, being comfortable. But on the other hand, it can be something that was taught. Like for me personally, I think that this could be the case for a lot of people, because for me personally, I was taught that being comfortable is normal. In many forms, for instance, get a job and work at the same job for 30 years or whatever. I looked up to that as being successful and a win in someone's life. I used to value that when I looked up to older men and women and I seen that they had the same job for 20, 30 years. I'm like, oh, wow, that person must be very successful and good at their job. I thought they might be good at their job, but they're good at being comfortable also. You know what I mean? They're good at being comfortable with that same job. I'm not talking about people that were highly successful with, high paying jobs. Because I just don't know that many people in my personal life. I didn't grow up around, highly successful individuals or entrepreneurs or anybody who really strived to be uncomfortable or, just separate themselves from the pack and be something different than the average comfortable person. And so that's an example of how it can be taught to us as well. It was definitely taught to me. It was something I just, I learned it from watching people a lot. And so that was bad advice that I had to unlearn here in the last 5 years, is being comfortable. And so it's just so damaging, and there's no growth in it. I don't remember exactly why I decided to talk about this topic, but these type of things I enjoy talking about, and I think there's a lot of value with these type of conversations. Oh, and by the way, let me know if there's how the audio is, because I noticed that on my Malia and I's podcast, I have a different setting that I use, and we sound a lot clearer on that. So I'm using that setting on this podcast, which is basically a two-way setting. I don't know why it sounds better, but basically what I'm saying is, if it sounds like I'm talking in a cup, like it was before, let me know, because I have a feeling that it sounds a lot better than it was before. Hey, what's up, Tommy? Thanks for joining, man. I appreciate having you on here. Let me read out your response here. You were saying every human should expect to learn something new, be somebody better, and share the knowledge they do have every woke day of their life. Be something different is so true. Great words, bro. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And I think, and it sounds like you have the same values I do when it comes to, learning something new, getting outside of your comfort zone, and more importantly, more specifically, deliberately putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. That was something I've also had to just learn how to implement, and it's been one of the biggest growth tools that I've experienced in the last 5 years, is just deliberately recognizing when something is scary and uncomfortable for me and going right into it. And there's been so much growth from that, and it's almost addicting now. And I am obsessed with doing that now. And so, and again, we'll talk about obsessed too, because that word likes to, people like to put a negative connotation on the word obsessed. And obsessed can actually be obsession can be a very powerful skill if you harness it and focus it on the right things. Now, obviously, like any addiction, if it turns into an addiction to where it's, hindering your life, then it's a problem. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about using obsession as a tool to drive whatever it is you're going after. So I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but basically, yeah, in a nutshell, being comfortable is self-restricting. You're shackling your mind. It's a way not to be noticed. You're sending the message that you don't want to go outside of your comfort zone. It's very apparent when you act this way to everybody else, and it's very clear. Like, oh, this person's comfortable doing what he wants. And like I said, that's actually scary that a lot of people are okay with that. More particularly for the people that are choosing to do that, not the ones that are kind of taught that through watching people, which I think it was a lot of that was for me personally. And that's why I know that could be a variable, and there could be another variable I don't know about, but learning through just examples of people's life is kind of how I was taught, and it was the worst thing for me to implement into my own life because it just kept me complacent for 30 years basically. But yeah, now I like to just treat everything like it's the beginning of this journey, kind of like when I started my own not the other business with a business partner, but this business I started. It was just, it's like having a new girlfriend, you know what I mean? The butterflies are there, you're excited, the momentum's there, you're putting in maximum effort. I'm just like everybody else, that diminishes too. But the fact that I can recognize that type of, in this example, the fact that I can recognize that, I'm able to actually reality check myself all the time. And I do that quite often, you know what I mean? Like I'm also a creature that craves comfort. And so, but I'm also smart, and I understand there's no growth in that. And so I go against the grain of what my mind wants to do. I use it as an indicator, like, if my mind's going there, it's a weak point of my mind, and I recognize it, I identify it, I isolate it, and I immediately go the opposite direction, because usually that's the only way to power through it and get that growth out of that experience. So again, treating it like it's the beginning of every journey. Even if you start diminishing that, just go back, live in that moment where it was fresh for you as whatever this experience was, a new business, a relationship, a sport, an interest, a hobby, anything. Just try to go back to the beginning of when it was just so fresh and exciting, you know what I mean? And try to just, not necessarily, live in that moment, but, just go back and visit it and remember what that's like, and really just kind of harness that again to revive that, that element again. And so, yeah, like I said, deliberately putting myself in these uncomfortable situations has been one of the most beneficial things I've done in the last 5 years. And that's the straight up truth. I should come up with a list of things actually that really has benefited me, and that's one of them. I'll give you examples here of my own life in the last 5 years, I guess you would say, because it's let's see, actually it was probably 6 years now. So like quitting my job, you've heard me talk about this before. I had the same job for 10 years. Most people I looked at that as a success. I'm like, oh, I've been in the same job for 10 years, because prior to that, I had a job. I'd be in a job for a couple years, couple years here, a couple years there, whatever. It's never usually over 2 or 3 years. And so, and to me, by looking at other individuals growing up, seeing them in their own job, their same job for 30 years, and thinking of that being a success, I also thought being in a job for 10 years was a success, and that I was on the path to success. Or, just being, I don't even know if you'd call it success, just the path of what is great, or I wouldn't even say that. I knew it was normal. I guess I very well knew it was normal, and so it's the path to normal, I guess, if you will. But normal was being glorified in my experience by a lot of people. And that's the sad thing, is normalizing life like this has been glorified by a lot of these people I grew up around, friends, family, their parents. Every so often I'd run across, someone who was just hyper focused and just an overachiever, an outperformer. And I recognized that, and I did remember that. I never spent enough time with those type of people though, and I should have, and that's why I think it's real important to seek those type of people or mentors or something like that, to really just kind of set the bar for you and show you the pace in which you should be operating if you want to live your full capabilities, really. But yeah, quitting my job, huge uncomfort. I mean, that was scary, and that was a risk. I'm risk overt, like a lot of people naturally are. So we want to play it safe, you know, and there's just a lot of scary things when you're going outside the uncomfort zone. And so quitting my job was a huge step for me, but it was actually probably that point where I started that was like the biggest uncomfortable, deliberate uncomfortable situation that I threw myself in. There was a couple other ones before that, but me dabbling in it is kind of what that was. And so I kind of committed after that point to doing a lot of uncomfortable things. And so yeah, quitting the job, then I started a business that I really knew little about. Might not have been the smartest thing, but it was something I did, and it got me outside of my uncomfort, or got me uncomfortable and outside of my comfort zone. You know, picking up the guitar at 25, I didn't even play guitar until I was 25. That's kind of crazy to even think about now that I think about it now. I don't really stop and think about that concept, but yeah, I never had a guitar in my hand. I mean, I strummed it every little bit, or not even every little bit. How do I say this? My stepbrother played guitar, and I remember playing the guitar, just, you know, whatever, farting around with it for a couple weeks or something, nothing to even talk about, and I gave it up. So yeah, I picked up the guitar when I was 25, super uncomfortable for me. You know, it was something that I just was playing around with, you know, and then it ended up becoming a passion of mine. And so once I seen the passion, and I seen actually how tough it was and how much work I was gonna have to put in to actually, you know, do the things that I've seen other guitar players do that I actually idolized and I liked doing, I was like, man, that's really cool. I was like, I really like to be able to do that. You know, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna go really hard and see what happens. And the doors just started opening, and it just got better and better. Just like anything, obviously, you know, there's a lot of sayings out there that they're bad, but the practice makes better saying is really, really true. Yeah. And so, Tommy, you're saying risk versus reward is very true. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people lean on the risk side of it, and the thing about the risk versus reward statement is that people think, I think that people think when they see that, we're impatient. We are impatient creatures. So the instant gratification needs to be acknowledged. We all are the same way. And so it's a discipline, I think, for us to really identify that, like, okay, I really am going to have to put aside my instant gratification on this, because this is going to take some time. This is going to take some hard work, and this is going to take some, you know, some not so fun hours, nights, sweat, blood, tears. And so that reward usually is at the peak of that, and under all of that is all these things you go through to get there. So the reward is never usually instantaneous, and that's where people lean on the risk. Even if they take that leap towards trying to work at something to get that reward, I think sustaining that for longevity, it really kind of eats up at people, because now we're talking about a different topic, which is instant gratification. And we all struggle with it. I struggle with it. We all want things now. We all want to kind of do things. We want things to happen, especially in this world, the way it's been, the way it is now. You can get everything you want in the touch of a button. I mean, it's crazy. You can get all the information you want on there. You can do almost everything you want from a computer nowadays. You really can. It's insane to think about that, other than actual human to human, face-to-face interaction. And you can almost do that too with Zoom calls and Skype calls. So yeah, I think risk versus reward is very true. You're right. And a lot of us probably either never even want to go down the reward path because they know it's a lot of work, or they go down it and give up because they hit those roadblocks and obstacles that they use as an excuse, or they really just let that get to them. So but yeah, that was an example. Playing guitar at 25, selling products and ideas for money. To be more specific, selling products and ideas for money. And the reason why I say it that way is because we sell all the time. And I actually learned this with, and I'm surprised I haven't reviewed this book yet, but one of the books I read was Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. You've heard me talk about him quite a bit. And so he talks in a couple chapters in there about how, selling is a huge part of your life from when you're a kid. Kids are the best sellers, you know what I mean? Like they'll convince you of, why you should do something. They'll really voice their opinion very strongly, and so that's before everybody's trying to put these bad things, these bad advice statements on them, as far as like, be quiet, quiet down, sit down, relax, don't get attention. All these things you shouldn't be telling kids, or at least could be reframed in a more positive manner. But yeah, that's why I said it that way, because selling, I've always been selling, everybody's been selling, but selling products and ideas for money is that was a thing that was something I had to learn, and it's very, very uncomfortable for me. I always hated to sell for money, to get something. Me selling my idea to get a check right then, or money, or whatever, someone to put their card in the Square reader, really difficult for me. And so that was the biggest uncomfortable thing that I have overcome, and it still can be uncomfortable sometimes, especially depending on the individual that I'm dealing with. I'm learning to embrace and deliberately put myself in this uncomfortable situation where I am enjoying the tougher customers, the ones that always ask tough questions, the ones that always try to derail the sales process that I have implemented in order for me to walk these people through the steps and understand that they, that make sure that they understand, the value, the proposition, everything. And then me actually getting to the close where I ask them to make a decision at the very end. That was very tough for me to learn. And I'm glad I've practiced and implemented it and got out there in the field and worked through that thing that I was so uncomfortable with, because now it's not as uncomfortable. It really is very rarely uncomfortable now. It's just something that I'm used to, I guess. Or how can I say that? It's always uncomfortable, but it's expected now, and it's not something that I fear. It's not something where, I can remember trying to sell and like stuttering and like literally, just not being able to, posture confidence and what I'm able to do, my capabilities, my skills. It's a tough thing to do. So I think sales is a great way to build your comfort level up and get yourself out of that comfort zone for sure. So yeah, that was just one of the things I did want to talk about. Let me know your thoughts on, I know you definitely chimed in. I appreciate that, Tommy, on as far as kind of what you're thinking on, your opinions on being comfortable and learning. You kind of emphasize that on there. So I appreciate that. So let's move on to, let's see here. All right, so let me review a couple things here. The first thing I want to review is my Christmas present. By the way, let me know how you guys' Christmas was. This is the first episode back after Christmas and New Year, so I'm pretty excited. This is the first episode of 2021. So yeah, welcome to the new year. Hopefully this is going to be a powerful one for all you guys, with all these things we're just talking about, and definitely like being uncomfortable. Let's practice that this year, maybe, you know what I mean? But yeah, I bought this from Malia. Super cool. I can't believe that's a painting. That's an oil painting of me and my daughter, and it turned out fantastic. I can't even believe how well that came out. It's my first portrait of me. As you can see, it's huge. I think it's bigger. I feel like my head on there is bigger than my actual head in real life. So it's good size, and it's something that, you know, she'll be able to keep forever. I don't know. I'm really excited about that. I seen that and I was like, holy shit. And it just sat in my living room for, you know, a few days, because it's just weird looking at yourself as a painting too. And so I seen it. I was like, that is so cool. And I'm an artist as well, so I really value art, you know what I mean, and skill levels and things of that nature. So yeah, super happy with that. I'm glad how it turned out. So the company is actually called Paint Your Life, if you're wondering. Very cool company and business model. You can go in there and you can pick. I mean, the options are. It's a great business idea. They have, a murderer's row of artists, from oil paint, acrylic paint, pen and pencil. You can choose what type of artist you want, what type of art you want, what kind of, palette. What else? The frame, the size of it. It's pretty cool. Literally, you can, and that's an example of what I was saying. You can literally get anything you want online now. Whereas you can never, to get a self-portrait, you would have had to find an artist and schedule an appointment with them and do all this stuff probably. Or, you know what I mean? Things are just a little more achievable nowadays. So, but yeah, my review of that piece is fantastic. And David L., I don't even know what his last name is. David L. was the artist. So, all right, so let's move on to this other review. I want to review this because it's pretty fresh and I just listened to it right now. And again, before I get into this, I did want to emphasize that a lot of what I talk about, I understand, might not be for everybody, okay? Whether it's self-improvement, whether it's my opinion on COVID, vaccines, politics. I really try to stay away from the politics, to be honest. But I'm very well aware that a lot of, not a lot, but some of the stuff that I may say is just not for everybody. And that's fine. So just keep that in mind. Take what you can. Take the stuff that we do have in common, and anything that I can contribute in that regard, retain that stuff. You know what I mean? We're here to learn from each other, not pick each other apart. That's how I want to live. You know what I mean? I'm not here to constantly judge people and pick them apart. I do pass my judgment on people just like a normal human being. But I also give people a chance and don't write them off. I think I've talked about this before. I don't just put someone in a box and that's where they stay. I might put someone in a box and then be like, hold on, I don't know if they belong there. I could be wrong. Like, that's the thing about me is I'm open to the possibility that I could very well be wrong and that I am wrong sometimes. So that's the difference, I think, between me, and I think a lot of people have a hard time being wrong. Even if they say, I'll admit when I'm wrong, those people I question too, you know what I mean? Because usually you'll know when those people admit when they're wrong because they'll have exercised that and proven to you that they admit when they're wrong. People are presented plenty of opportunities to admit when they're wrong because they're wrong a lot of times. And so I value that quite a bit, actually. Anyways, I'm diverting. So the topic or the review I wanted to do was, I just got done listening to Dr. Drew's Instagram post. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Drew, there was a show back in the day on MTV. It was called Loveline, which was, the hosts were Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla, I'm a huge fan of. I love Adam Carolla. He's a freaking genius comedian, and I can relate to him too because he worked as a carpenter for 13 years before he got his, he was friends with Jimmy Kimmel, and that's kind of how he got into the comedian side and the acting business part of it. And so, as he should have, the guy's a genius, man. He's really quick and witty and very smart. So anyways, I can relate to Adam Carolla quite a bit. He's just hilarious. I just like that mentality of him. I've always liked Dr. Drew too, but he is more on the conservative side, and he does say stuff that I question. and that what I really question is his agenda and his motive a lot of times. And so I listened to an Instagram post. In case you're not, you didn't know, apparently he got COVID. He got COVID-19, and I guess it got to him pretty good. He was getting the worst of the symptoms, other than dying, obviously. But he got, I guess he started out, he said that it starts out with flu-like symptoms, and then it goes into a more extensive, strenuous, body draining, mentally draining, reduced cognitive skills. And so he talks about this quite a bit. He's been posting Instagram live videos of, updates on how he's feeling. You'll see a post of him laying in bed with his wife, giving him food or whatever. And he just looks like a sickly child. And like he really looked like he was in bad shape. Now, I'm not saying that he's not in bad shape. Whatever he got probably got him pretty good. He probably is not, feeling very well. But the post basically that I just watched was a half hour long, and he's talking about how, and he's so dramatic too. He's talking about, like, God, I can't even think straight, you know what I mean? So it's hard to even focus right now. And he's like, kind of dramatizing that a little bit. And he's talking to people. And while he's talking to people, he's talking about all these drugs that he's taken, all these steroids he's taken, all these things. And then he's talking about, where to get them. I've taken this, that really helped me. Everybody can get it. You can get it with your Medicaid, whatever. You can get it here. Anybody can access it. Go here to get it. Go there. Like, it seemed like a fucking sales pitch to me, is what it seemed like. It seemed very unauthentic to me. I don't know if he genuinely believes that and had some true concern about people, but all I was hearing was him. It sounded like a pharmaceutical commercial to me. And so I question his agenda or his authenticity of it, meaning, I don't know if he genuinely believes that those are helping him and that he's doing a good, service to the people by exposing them to this and recommending them to get this thing and where they can get it, or if he's just straight up, being paid to say this stuff. I don't know, but I really, it comes across to me that way. It just didn't seem very authentic. And so I kind of did not enjoy watching that live video. And again, if you're wondering where I'm at with the COVID-19 and all that, I've talked about this before. I think COVID-19 is a very, very real thing. I think it can definitely, it probably is deadly to some people that are definitely, we've talked about this. CDC already talked about who is most at risk, and it's the people from, was it 49 to 70? They're 95.5% likely to survive it, I guess. So there's a very small chance, 4.5% chance really that they could die from it. And so we've talked about all this, but again, my personal opinion, just to kind of, without getting into the whole turning it into the COVID-19 thing, I just wanted to emphasize that to you guys so you understand where I'm talking, where I'm coming from when I talk about this stuff. But yeah, I think it's very real. I just think it's been very blown out of proportion. And again, I'll use Alex Jones as an example. Not that I think the guy's a freaking lunatic, obviously, but he did say one statement that stuck with me, and he said that COVID-19's real, the pandemic's fake. That was about the only thing I've ever agreed with Alex Jones ever saying. So I think that's very true in my opinion. I think a lot of it is just being blown out of proportion. And so that's why I get frustrated it's not even frustrated. That's why I'm leery and I question a lot of things. You know what I mean? When Dr. Drew is talking about get a steroid and, put this in your body, put that in your body. I put this in my body, so you should too. I mean, that's why I said it sounds like a pharmaceutical commercial, and there's an agenda there. And I just don't appreciate that. I just don't. I mean, he talked about a level of certainty of how he got it, you know, how his son got it by passing the eggs through the door through him. Like, there's no certainty of how he got it or his son. He's talking like he knows exactly what is happening, and that can be frustrating to me. I'm like thinking to myself, there's no way you know that. There's no facts behind that, so you shouldn't be telling, you know, however many viewers that you have on your platform, that's the case. And that's why I'm also under suspicion that he could be getting paid to promote these pharmaceutical, you know, these pharmaceuticals, because he's got a big platform. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same, you know, not to spin this into politics, but it's the same reason why Joe Biden interviewed Cardi B, because she's got 75 million followers. I mean, it wasn't about trying to, you know, connect with, you know, a black person and try to show that, you know, you care about this or that. There was an agenda there, in my opinion, also. And so I kind of relate the same thing. I feel like people that have an agenda are kind of targeting the people with a big platform and a big audience and a big reach. And so I get really leery about that and kind of question a lot of things, you know what I mean? I'm not solidified on anything. I'm not saying this is it, I'm set in my ways, nothing's going to change my mind. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is what I have a suspicion to be. Change my mind. Hook me up with some facts, please. Facts do matter. I don't know who the hell said facts don't matter, except for Biden. He also said that it's not about the facts, it's about the truth. That's fucking ridiculous. So my personal opinion, I think that's ridiculous. I value facts, and obviously you got to make sure that the facts are coming from credible resources and peer reviews and things like that. So but yeah, my opinion of Dr. Drew's long Instagram post was that it was just it seemed like propaganda and an agenda that was behind that. And the fact that he's just dramatizing it about, you know, how he's like, you know, oh, spacey and you can't think and all this, like, the dude's being a straight drama queen, in my opinion. Like, he probably didn't feel well. Maybe if he didn't feel well, I mean, he could very easily have just the flu or you know, some regular sickness. So I don't know. It was kind of funny, and it was like, it had me questioning a lot. And I was like, wow, you know, this is a common theme, I think, where a lot of these people with big platforms, big audiences and big reaches, you know, with actors and musicians and comedians and doctors, I'm really watching closely what they're saying, and not only watching what they're saying, but watching their delivery as a human being. I'm not a professional. I can't read people's minds, but I would like to think that I have a good understanding or a good judgment of people's intentions and authenticity and genuine, you know, genuosity. Is that a word? No, it's going to be now. I think I have a good feel for people's intentions and kind of whether they can be truthful or not. I think, in my experience, I mean, I've been wrong, obviously. Everybody's been wrong. Everybody's been, you know, thought that they knew somebody and they, you know, found out that they did something that they thought they would never do, type thing. So, but on an average, on things that ended up being, thinking back now on people that I have made assumptions on, as far as my interaction with them and the feelings that I got from them, usually they've proven me to be right on a percentage, on the odds scale for me. And so that's what I look for when I see people talk. I'm reading them, I'm watching them, I'm really analyzing them as a human being, facial expressions, tone of voice, everything, the whole delivery. And so if it just comes off as being that way, being very, you know, deceitful or something of that nature, it usually is. In my experience, I'm not saying I'm just going off my experience. So hopefully that makes sense to people. And yeah, Dr. Drew's long ass propaganda post, it just seemed, it seemed, I didn't like it. Let's put it that way. And I like Dr. Drew, but after seeing that, I was like, man, I don't know if I trust you now. You know, I feel like there's an agenda here that I just can't trust you. I hope I'm wrong. You know, not like I know the guy or anything, or like he hurt my feelings if he is this way or anything. But just for my odds sake, I hope I'm wrong, I guess. So that'll wrap that up. Like I said, the reason why I wanted to talk about that was because it was just fresh in my mind. I did see it. I had a couple other topics for the review, but I decided to talk about that just because, like I said, it was real fresh, and I had some things to talk about with it. One moment here. Oh my god, my throat is so dry from talking all day. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this. Like, there must be some kind of techniques that people, some kind of remedies that people do that help them in sustaining talking all day. Because I haven't figured out any tricks. So if anybody out there watches this and does vocals or speaks a lot, sales, anything like that, and has little tricks of the trade that'll help a person's throat sustain long periods of time of talking, please let me know, because I'm gonna be looking into that pretty soon here, because this is like the third or fourth episode where my throat has just gotten so dry from talking all day. So all right, let's move on to the next topic here. So this is actually let me go back here really quick so I make sure I didn't miss something on that section. Oh, I'm gonna review that actually. This is cool. Real quick, I don't know if you know who Jack Ma is. He's just like he's an entrepreneur, like I don't know if he's a billionaire or a millionaire, but he's very successful, and he's just highly focused on marketing. And he's got a lot of accolades and things like that he's done. But every now and then he's got some cool statements, and I heard that one earlier today. He said, you should look to not be the best at something, but look to be the first at doing something. And this kind of dovetails right into what we talked about with being uncomfortable. Usually when you're going to be the first at doing something, or at least in your mind you think you're the first, maybe, that's uncomfortable. It is. I mean, you're going into a land that it's not ventured. It hasn't been ventured by you yet. And especially if you don't know anybody who's ventured that area, it can be scary. But I understand what he's saying. And I never use that. The only way I use the word best as far as self-implemented, I'm very careful with that, actually. And the way I like to word it is, I want to be my best self. I want to do the best I can, kind of along those lines. Not, I don't want to abuse that word and say, I want to be the best at whatever, fill in the blank. I want to be the best I ever the best I ever have. That's probably a good statement, but you know what I'm saying? There's a slippery slope where you can really start fluffing your mind, and it can do you a disservice if you're not using that word best in the right context. But I think being the best you can is a good way to use it. But with his statement, he was saying you shouldn't look to be the best at anything. You should look to be the first person to do something. I can totally relate to that, because I've been diving into some stuff that a lot of people have been avoiding, in a lot of different fields, not just my own business, but in music, in what else? Parenting. I'm really looking to separate myself by doing things that other people aren't doing, but not just to do it, but things that I value and that I think are highly something that someone can really contribute from. You know what I mean? Or gain something from the contribution. And so yeah, I can totally relate. You know, like thinking of another example more specifically to give you, just so I'm just not kind of blanket statementing things out there, but like using my business as an example. I know plenty of contractors that are doing the specialty trade that I do, which is, you know, extruded aluminum sunrooms, and patio covers and handrails and things like that. It seems like, you know, I network with a lot of contractors, and I know a lot of contractors that I used to work with or alongside with in the past over the last 14 years. A lot of them really stay in the comfort zone. You know, people don't do this. They don't go to Seattle to get permits on, you know, an $80,000 sunroom job or something like that, because it can be a nightmare. I do know, you know, some people that do that because they've decided to get uncomfortable and try it. But I've really, to use myself as an example and use, you know, looking to be the first to do something in my business example, I'm always trying to do, like, even if it's just the first for me, I'm doing it. Like, you know, permitting, like that was something I avoided a while too with this job. I didn't want to do it. It was just paperwork. It was jumping through hoops that the city put you through, HOA put you through. It can be a nightmare, and it can be stressful. A lot of nights staying up, staring at a computer screen, and just working through corrections that they send you. It's a lot of pedantic stuff that they really can put you through. So that was something I avoided for a while. Now I just go at it. Whatever it takes, I'm going to get it figured out. Whatever needs to be done, I do it. It's kind of ironic I'm talking about this right now, because literally I went to Seattle although it was 2 sales appointments I went to. One of them was a job that I had already sold. I didn't even get a check from it, actually. I do things much differently now. Now I get a check before I devote or contribute or donate any of my time to the project, whether it's crunching numbers and permitting and all that. This is the last job I did that for, and this was 10 months ago, actually, where I pitched this sunroom project to a homeowner in Seattle, and they wanted to move forward, but I didn't have an agreement with them. I didn't get any money. There was no transaction whatsoever. So they could have easily walked away from me and been out nothing. And if they'd have done that at any time, you know, 6 months in, I would have been out all the time that I put into it. But the reason I'm using that as an example is because I literally just went today to pick up the check to close this deal after 10 months of going through. That's how long it took. 10 months to get a permit through the city of Seattle for this sunroom. Now, it was a nightmare going through all these corrections lists through them. I mean, I'm not kidding. There was literally 12 different reviews that each person. So think of it as having 12 different inspectors on one project. That's really what it was. And they'll pick you apart for every small little thing, like, hey, this needs to be corrected here. And you'll just get, I mean, I got one time a corrections list was like 2 pages long. I was like, holy shit. And just piece by piece, line by line, just going through it, solving it, just chipping away at it is what it took. And there's a lot of times where it felt, you know, daunting. It felt like it was just, there was no finish line to it. Even after I got the permit, finally got the thing approved and powered through all those corrections, you know, 8 months later, in the permit, it says, before you start, make sure you do these. And then it basically had some more requirements and prerequisites and more things to jump through before you started. You know, get a pre-inspection appointment, get an erosion test done, get a you know, what do you call that? Geotechnical designer out there. Only if you're required to. These things just kept going on. Oh, if the house is built pre-1978, get a lead-based RRP certificate for you and your firm, which is your business, and which I had to do. That was actually the only thing on the list that I needed to do as far as I know. And so I did that. I had to go, figure out what it was going to take. Well, all the classes in Washington were booked up, so I had to go to Oregon to do this. This was like 3 weeks ago. It was an 8-hour class. I spent all day, carved out time to do it, paid $400, got the certificate, sent in, and it didn't stop there. After you do that, you got to fill out another form, pay some more money to the city of, City of Commerce or something like that, for Olympia, Washington Commerce, something like that. To get your firm certified, to get my employees certified now, because even though I was certified, didn't mean that my employees on the job site were certified to work on a 1978 home that may have lead-based paint in it. And so this is just an example of the shit. This example of how I just kept powering through whatever was thrown at me. It was just like, okay, what's next? Did that? What's next? Okay, that's done. What's next? What else you got? That's how my mentality has been now. It's just go after it. Just do it. And that's why I can relate to John Maw's statement about being the first to do something, because whether or not I'm the first, I am trying to be immediate with something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. And I think I have a suspicion that a lot of times I am the first person to do something like that, because I don't even think about it. If it seems like it's tough and it's something that's scary, I'm going to go after it. And I know that a lot of people aren't doing that deliberately. So I really appreciated his statement when he said that, don't look to be the best at something. You should look to be the first at doing something and do, what it takes. It's a what it takes, can do mentality. That's really what he's talking about. And I really value that, to be honest. All right. So, let me move on past that. I did want to talk about, so the viral viewpoint here is something a little bit different. Let me check this off real quick so I don't talk about the same thing. We talked about this, we talked about that. Okay. The viral viewpoint. This is about my opinion with criminals. I have a suspicion that I seen it, and the reason I thought this is because what is that guy? David Rose from America's Most Wanted posted, he does this a lot. That's what he does for a living. He'll post, hey, have you seen this person? He'll post a picture of someone. This person was, he's wanted for whatever, armed robbery, or he stole this and he's still on the loose. Last seen this location. Have you seen him? Which is great. Facebook's a great way now to use the platform to help find criminals like that. But when I seen the picture of the criminal standing there with his mask on, I can't remember what he did. I think he stole something. I don't think he did armed robbery or anything, but he stole something. And when I seen that, I just thought to myself, like, that looks inviting. The fact that I had this thought, like, the masks are an inviting way for criminals to take advantage of being more of an opportunist than they already are. Especially now that the masks are normalized, it's providing a green light for like real criminals to almost want, it's almost like an incentive for them. Not an incentive, it's inviting. Let's use that word. It's inviting for criminals to commit the crime because it's harder to identify them. And that was the thing. I read on his post, he said the criminal has still not been identified. Now, if he wasn't wearing a mask, he would have been identified. But the fact that he had a mask on made it 10 times harder for someone to, say, oh, I know that guy. So in that regard, these masks are fucking killing us right now. When it comes to criminals, they're just seeing opportunity. And so whether it's robbing people, stealing stuff, the mask is just a great way for criminals to hide behind. And there's no question about it. Obviously, if you fast forward a year and a half back and someone wore a mask walking into a store, you better believe that everybody's keeping their eye on that guy. Like, why does he have a mask on? But the fact that now everybody has a mask on, and the average criminal walks in the store and has ill intent, we never know. We will never know. And then on top of that, you're struggling to identify this guy now. So I was like, wow, this is really complicating the criminal aspect of this. And it's pretty unfortunate. I'm going to be really happy when this shit is over with and we can actually, and don't get me started on numbers, because I have a strong opinion about, I've talked about the leadership being, you can't tell people that you should take this serious, but then you continue to keep football games going, you continue to keep casinos open, you continue to keep, places where old people and vulnerable frequent open. It doesn't make me think it's serious, all right? If it was out there killing people left and right with the numbers and the rates that they're talking about, you would shut down every facility. You would enforce it too. You would do it. Humanity would depend on that. And so that's why you don't get a level of seriousness from me, because it just hasn't been portrayed as being serious. I know people are talking and saying that it's serious, but the actions are not in alignment with what they're saying. And so I can't follow that. I can't be behind someone who's so inconsistent. So anyways, back to the criminals. I will be glad when this is over, because that's just one. I mean, I could probably sit down and write a list of bad reasons why the lockdown and wearing masks is just destroying us. And there's a question that's been posed that, is the lockdown killing us more than COVID is? If you put those numbers together, it's probably a solid argument. I'm not, me bringing that up doesn't mean that that's what I believe or anything like that. So let's not jump to conclusions, but I like profound, thought-provoking conversations, and that is one right there. So I will be happy when this is over. Businesses can go back to normal. I mean, there's businesses out there that are shutting down that have been open for 40 plus years, and they've had to close the doors, and that shit is sad. These are like family businesses that started from the ground up, and just in the blink of an eye, they're done, and all the families that they supported are done too. Reason why it's so upsetting to me, because there has been no facts or numbers to show that there has been a spike in cases in bars, schools, all these places that are open, like the football games and I guess basketball. They came up with a couple cases here, but there's no proof that showed there was a spike in those areas. You know what I mean? Sure, you're gonna have a case here, a case there, and then it's questionable whether or not they're getting diagnosed correctly too. So way too much gray area for these drastic decisions that aren't even drastic for something that is being portrayed as being so serious. So you can understand where someone, I don't know, I'm not a genius, I've said this before, but I think I have some common sense. And so just using common sense behind what I'm saying and what is being said is not lining up. So I'm not going to follow that. I can't. So, but yeah, back to the criminals thing. I think that is one example of how, I would argue that I would like to see, the statistics on the crime rate. That's, I'm almost positive that has surged up since the masks have been implemented. And so, that's huge. I mean, like, we're just creating more victims out there for people that, victimize people. That's the name of their game, Oh, and by the way, that was something I did want to talk about. Since we are talking about that, I had this thought about me. Where's it at here? I think I wrote it down. Okay. Yeah, talking about victimizing people. I kind of was thinking about this. Let me drink this before I choke on my dry mouth here. I am just so chapped. 1 second. This episode is brought to you by Naked. Get naked. Just kidding. Hopefully I can't get in trouble for that. Right? Can you get in trouble for promoting a business without their permission? I mean, they should be happy about that, right? All right, so okay, so I had a realization. I was kind of analyzing myself, and I realized something about myself and why I think I seek attention in my, more particularly in like my self-improvement quest that I've been going through with the last 3 years in particular. It's been about a 3-year road now, seriously, where I kind of just really, that was the name of my game, is really like, how am I gonna, what is important to me? What do I value now? What do I want to be tied in with me? And what do I want to be known for? What do I want to be, what do I want the attention for? We all want attention. I talked about this a couple episodes back about attention seekers and people seeking the wrong attention, people seeking attention, but then they get the attention they don't want, and then they don't know how to talk about it, and so you get canceled, whatever. But I was thinking about myself and why I seek attention on my self-improvement quest, and why, that's really it, why I seek attention. And I thought about it. It's because I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think what a lot of it has to do with is my first, up till about 16 years old, that part of my life, I really victimized a lot of people. This is not something I'm proud to talk about, but I don't want to sit here and talk about all the shit that I'm happy about and all the shit that I've done that I'm proud of. I want to talk about some of my demons a little bit too. And that's something we could all relate to. I think we all got some demons that some of us hide really well, and some of us talk about sometimes, but I'm going to make a conscious effort to actually expose these demons a little bit more. I have talked about this before, but I'm talking about it again, and this is how it ties in with what I'm talking about now. I think that the fact that I victimized people when I was 16, when I say victimize, I'm gonna be real specific here, stealing. I did a residential burglary one time. I would throw rocks at vehicles just for the thrill of it. I was that type of attention seeker for the peer camaraderie. I was the kid that always looked, I enjoyed being the crazy kid. You know what I mean? Like, every time someone thought I was crazy, I fed off that, and I would do crazy shit all the time. Whether it was putting someone else in danger or putting myself in danger, I really had no remorse. And so I victimized people. I victimized my parents, my mom, my stepdad, my family members, my friends. I didn't respect my friends even. So I was a very terrible kid growing up. I was very misguided. I had no direction. I was doing things so backwards to get the wrong type of attention. And like I said, this is not something I'm proud of at all. It sucks to talk about this type of stuff, but it's also liberating, and it's nice, especially because I'm obviously I'm not that person anymore, and I haven't been for a long time. But that's why it's easy for me to talk about it now, is because I know there was a lot of growth in my later years, looking back on that, like, holy shit, I was so jacked up, like no confidence, no. It's kind of funny because being crazy would be projected as having confidence, but on the contrary, it was just me seeking out that glorification from people. But I was a scared kid, and misguided, and always just doing the wrong things for that attention. So the type of attention I did was just opposite from the attention I'm seeking now, right? Like I just mentioned, I treated everybody like shit. Now it's a different type of attention. I attention seek now because I enjoy helping people. I enjoy people using me as an example, the bad, the good. Like, use me. I'm an open book. Take it. You know what I mean? I'm transparent. And I am this in my business. This is why I think I do well in sales now. It's because I'm so fucking transparent. There's really not a lot. I don't hide anything. I lay it all out on the table. And I think that's why I'm pretty successful at actually keeping this business going, because there's a lot of deceitful people and contractors. I've heard horror stories, trust me, about contractors disappearing with people's money or whatever. But I thoroughly enjoy helping people, and contributing anything that I can. More particularly, it seems like now I can almost just contribute my experiences in my own life, because this is a journey that I'm taking. I'm not successful. I'm better each day than I was before, but I would not call myself successful. But what I am is growing. That's a true statement. I am growing, and I am on the path to, I wouldn't even call it success. Success is not a thing or a place I'm aiming for. Whatever that may be, that word is kind of glorified. I'm just focused on growing every day till there's no limit. I don't think. I always talk to my daughter about, you should always learn something and have a learning mentality until you die. Even as an old person, you should never think that you know everything. You should always seek new information and how you can learn from another individual. So I'm highly focused on that, and I will be until I die. And that's something I also implement into my parenting as well. So yeah, I think that's what it is. I really spent a portion of my life victimizing people, and now I'm in a place in my life where I can use my life and those bad examples, or those bad choices as an example, rather, and talk about it, and kind of talk about what I'm doing now and these things that I'm doing to make myself better and better and better as a person. And whether it's communication skills or actual skills, business skills, parenting skills, those type of things, things that I get value from and other people would also get value from, that I think, or that want to get value of, out of. There's people that are turned off by that if there's just not, and this goes back to what I was talking about. A lot of things I talk about may not be for you. If you're just not there in your life, if you just that's not something you value, this ain't for you. It's just not. This is for the people that actually have similar values and that can take anything out of what I'm saying and use my life as an example. So back to what I was saying, I enjoy helping people. I'm not in a position right now where I can throw, a ton of money at problems. I'm not a multimillionaire, but what I can do is take people with me on this journey of me being better every day. All right. I'm focused, and I am obsessed. I brought this word up earlier. I am obsessed with being better, and I'm obsessed with learning more, and obsessed with attaining skills from other people who have made good choices and are in a position in their life that I would like to be in my life. So again, obsession, it's not a bad thing unless it's, if it's inhibiting you from moving forward. You know what I mean? Like it's just like alcohol or any drugs, you know what I mean? It can be abused. If you abuse obsession, then that's a problem. But like I said, if you harness it in the right manner and focus it and direct it towards what you want to be obsessed about, which is hopefully something positive, it's a good thing. It is. I can't be successful or driven without being obsessed. I realize that. I'm the type of individual that needs to be obsessed with that, or I'm just not going to be motivated to the level that I need to be, that I know I need to be, and that I want to be to actually achieve this. When I'm obsessed, that means I'm absorbing myself with whatever it is, there's a routine, you know what I mean? Whether it's listening to something or practicing something every morning or doing something physical every morning, I'm doing it just to implement these good habits in my life. So let's see here. Yeah, we all like attention, but I would encourage people to honestly ask yourself, why? You know, why do I want this attention? I personally, I don't want any cheerleaders. I don't want a pat on the back for like, hey dude, like, you know, you're pretty successful. Like, to be honest, I do get compliments a lot from my friends. And I get a lot of compliments from people because I've separated myself from being normal and being mediocre. I've deliberately done that. I do things that aren't normal. And so I do get compliments from people. And if I'm not careful, I'll let that shit get to my head. You know, that's not what I'm seeking. I'm not seeking cheerleaders. I'm not seeking pat on the backs like that. Because that gets me comfortable. If I just let that shit get to my head, I'm like, oh, okay. You know, maybe I am making some good, you know, I can reel it back a little bit. You know what I mean? That weak part of my mind is that's going to feed that weak part of the mind. And I don't want that to happen. And so I'm very aware of it. And I acknowledge all this, and those are the type of things I was talking about when I reality check myself all the time. So that's an example of how I reality check myself all the time. Like, hey, dude, it's okay to acknowledge your achievements and things that you have done to better yourself, but I don't want to live in those moments. That's not how I don't want to be remembered for things that I've done. I want to be remembered for the things I'm doing right now and what I'm going to continue to do. And regardless of what people's opinion is, good or bad, it's not, you know, you can't just avoid the bad comments, because the good comments can also really destroy or shackle you, would be a good word, by letting it feed the weak part of your mind. That's my opinion anyways, and that's my experience with me. I know myself, and that's how it works. So yeah, I'm not focused on someone telling me I did a good job all the time, because I'm just focused on doing a good job and knowing that I am doing a good job and that I want to do a better job every time, a better job, that is. So let's see. I talked about this. Yeah, it's good to visit, you know, your accomplishments, especially if you had a lot of adversity going on. It's great to go back and revisit that and say, yeah, I did that shit. Like, that was tough. You know, I went through a lot to overcome that, but just don't live in that moment is kind of what I'm encouraging people. So, and definitely don't lead with that in conversations. So, but basically, you know, I want this, a huge part of the reason why I do this is because, and I talk about things like this, and self-improvement is a huge topic for me, is because I basically want to chronicle my life here and timeline it for Malia. My daughter, I want her to be able to, you know, pull up some of these videos, you know, 10 years from now, and her to look back at the growth that I've made and use me as an example as well. This isn't, I mean, a lot of this is for my daughter. I want her to be able to go on this journey with me as well. And I want it to be documented. That way I can hold myself accountable. That way I can, you know, analyze myself even a little bit more. It's a great growth experience, doing, you know, podcasts and putting myself out there, you know, the business, going on sales and doing meetings. You know, I'm going to go to Miami in March. I've never even been as far as, you know, Nevada. When I was 16 was the furthest I went. I guess I went back to Las Vegas in last September, but I haven't been further than that. And so, yeah, I'm just doing new things. You know what I mean? I bought I paid like $5,000 for a seat at an event in Miami. Like, I would never have fathomed I would even, that's like a lot of money for, you know, someone like me, like, to think that I just dropped that on a seat for an event. which is basically just guest speakers and things like that. But I'm super excited, you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. I'm going outside my comfort zone. I'm traveling. I'm surrounding myself around, you know, millionaires and things like that. Like, that's what I want to do, is study from the best so that I can be better every day. So I'm super excited with the journey I've gone down, and I hope it just continues to grow. So let's see here. Yeah. I talked about that, about how like a lot of what I talk about is not for everyone. I will say though, hand in hand with that, the dialogue wasn't for me also. The stuff I talk about right now, this kind of internal dialogue that I have, was never a part of my life, you know, for the first 30 years. I'm not sure, you know, there was, you know, I don't even know what kind of internal dialogue I have with myself to be like a hard worker, because there was definitely some things and adversities I went through, even just working, you know, on that 10-year job that I had as a carpenter. I don't know what kind of self-talk I was doing to be so motivated and dedicated to learning. I think it was just a learning thing, because I knew that I didn't want to be just the grunt, you know. I wanted to be more of a leader position. I never really thought of myself as being a leader though, which is kind of ironic until the last couple years. Just because I've went outside of my comfort zone now. So let's see here. Yeah, pay attention to the voice in your head that is usually lying. I think that's what I wrote there. There's a voice, you know, in the back of our head. Well, it kind of goes hand in hand. There's also a voice in the back of your head that's saying, you know, like, that has truth. That's like, hey man, you know, like, you're capable of more than this. You're able to, you know, you're not living your full potential. That voice is in the back of all of our heads, I think. I would encourage people to pay attention to that as well, and so that they can be better, and they can, you know, have a better chance of living at their full capability. But ultimately what I'm saying is, after what I'm talking about with this topic, is, you know, don't let your fucked up thoughts control your actions. Don't let that be the dictator of what you're going to do. You need to control those thoughts. A guy that I talk about quite a bit is David Goggins, and he kind of refers to the mind as being a separate entity where it'll tell you some shit to keep you comfortable. It'll tell you some things that is just going to really be, it's going to do you a disservice to mental growth, to, you know, just growth in general. It's going to really prevent you from growing, rather. And we all have them. We all have these fucked up thoughts. So just be aware of them, snuff them out, and, you know, power through it. But yeah, to wrap that section up, let's see here. So let's, we're kind of getting close to the end of this. I started a little bit late, unfortunately. And I don't really have time to go later today because I got a ton of work I got to do after this. So I'm going to put my face in the screen for a few more hours before I go to bed. But before I do that, before I close this episode here, let's talk about a couple rants that I got. All right. Let's talk about this one first. I always get emails. I mean, this is probably one a day, at least. I get 5 to 7 of these a week. It's website improvement emails. Be like, hey, and it goes something like this usually. I'll open it up like, oh, what's this? Hey, I noticed, you know, you have a really good company. You got some really good work going on. But your website can use a little cleaning up, and you're actually not ranked on whatever, something. So we could actually do this and this and this for you. And it's a pitch, right? And so I'm like, oh my God. They always start out like that. They're like, kind of, well, actually, no, they don't always. A lot of them start out like that. They'll compliment you first and then say, but we can improve your website and make it better. And then there's some that are on there like, hey, we noticed your website needs work. It's like, man, It's not a great way to start a conversation with somebody. And it's funny to me because I get a lot of compliments from the homeowners about my website. So why would I listen to any of those people that are talking when they're not even my demographic for the product? You know what I mean? Like, I'm paying attention to the market and the people that are actually buying from me. And the people that are buying from me and looking on the website are saying, hey, you got a good website. I like what you got there, and it looks professional and everything looks good. So, and all the pictures on there of the projects you've done looks great. And that's what I'm paying attention to. So it's super annoying to always see those emails to me like, hey, we noticed that you could use a little brushing, you could smooth out the rough edges on your website there. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, yeah, this is super annoying. So just a quick rant on that. I wish they would stop. Here's a rant that really bothers me, actually. God, this has always bothered me. Not a person that doesn't set up their voicemail. No, and I don't even mean like having you on there saying like, hey, this is Ben, can't make it to the phone, leave a voicemail, I'll get back to you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that you get this message, right? And you've heard this before. I'm sorry, but the person you've reached has not set up their voicemail. Goodbye. Okay, so do I call them again? Do I text them, which they're not going to get back to me on, obviously, if they're not answering my phone call or not receiving any voicemails? They're certainly not going to text me. Or they are going to text me because that's the only way they're comfortable with communicating, which is even more annoying as well. But not setting up your voicemail is super frustrating, but it's even more frustrating for me if you're in a professional field where it's almost required for you to have your voicemail set up. For instance, real estate agents. I've dealt with it. This is literally my experience recently. A real estate agent didn't have his voicemail set up. How fucking unprofessional is that? A contractor, like similar to what I do, whatever other field it is, not having a voicemail set up. Or here's another one. I'm sorry, the person you reached, the mailbox is full. Clear your damn mailbox. Like, there's nobody that's saving that many messages in their inbox for a reason. There's no, who does that? Like, oh, I think that's an important message, I'm going to save that one. I'm going to save that one and save that one until they got like 40 messages saved. It's not realistic. It's not a thing. So, super annoying. And employees, I got one, maybe two employees that don't have their voicemail set up. Super fucking annoying. Matter of fact, next time I think about that and that comes up, I'm gonna really encourage them. Like, hey man, set your voicemail up so I can leave you a message. That way I know you got my message. But it's just super unprofessional, and it just shows. That's deliberate. There's no way someone is not setting up their voicemail or leaving their voicemail box full that's not deliberately doing that. There's just no way they're not doing that deliberately. And so it's just a great excuse for somebody to not have to call them back, because they could be like, hey, I didn't get your call. Well, of course you didn't. You didn't set your voicemail up. So super annoying. You can obviously hear the frustration in my voice because I've had to deal with it quite a bit. And especially for someone like me who, like, I'm on it. Like, as soon as things come up, and calls need to be made and things need to get worked out, I'm working on it immediately. I'm getting it done. And so when someone is just the exact opposite and they're not setting up their voicemail, because they're they literally are deliberately trying to slow down a process. That is so frustrating for an individual like me who just wants to knock down each barrier as it comes up, which I have to. I have so much on the plate that if I don't deal with things as they come up immediately, it stacks up rather quickly. And then, like anybody else, the more you have, the more overwhelming it is. And I just don't like working like that. I don't work well like that, or I've learned to work well like that. But the quicker I can chop it down and get it done, get it off the checklist, the better. Because my checklist is constantly being added to, and that's what I mean by I almost have to do it that way every time. So, but yeah, that's my last rant is, people, set your voicemail up, man. and delete your inbox. Do whatever you make it available for someone to leave you a voicemail if they need to call you, right? And stop the texting shit. Like the people that only communicate through text. Like what have we gotten into? What have we become, like, people? I mean, I understand that we're going to this digital world now where nobody actually communicates with anybody anymore. But let's break the cycle. We are social creatures. You get much more value out of speaking with somebody. And if you can't speak with them face to face, then at least the next best thing is actually talking to them on the phone. Not, you all know these type of people too. You'll call them, they won't answer, and they'll text you right back immediately. Some will even make an excuse up like, oh, can't talk right now, but I can text. You can text, but you can't talk? Doesn't even make sense. Like, maybe there's some very rare scenarios like that, but 9 times out of 10, if you can text, you can talk. So yeah, this way we're going with that. I could talk forever about just that topic and how annoying that is. So let's people, make some room on your voicemail. Set your voicemail up and let's practice talking to people. Let's actually answer the phone instead of actually going to the mailbox. You know what I mean? The voicemail is the last resort. So let's set it up and let's talk to people, right? But yeah, and with that, I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys. We're gonna, I guess, just plan on being here next Saturday for episode 54. And I have a few other topics that I'm going to rotate that I put off to the side that we can talk about on next Saturday. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to just powering through 2021 with, a lot of, aggressive momentum. Apparently I got my Restream comps back, and it was, according to the Restream, I've been streaming using Restream and streaming more than 94% of people, and that's pretty good. That tells me I'm way more active than a lot of people. So I'm just gonna keep doing it, right? Me, I'm about volume and consistency. So I'm gonna keep pounding away at this, and I would love people's help, momentum, shares. Like I said, I'll give the plugs one more time before I get out of here. So basically, you can find us on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and yeah, any momentum that you can help me with by sharing, following, subscribing, please do so. Really appreciate that. Let's help grow this audience and start a culture, basically. Let's start a viral culture, if you will. Because there's a lot of things I think there are a lot of things I would like to talk about, and a lot of things that people want to talk about as well. Yeah, and we're not that busy. Like, there's a lot of people that are probably just sitting around watching Netflix right now, literally. So pick and choose when you're wasting your time. You know what I mean? Like, that's another small little tidbit of advice. You know what I mean? I'm huge on making sure time wasted is very minimal and selective with where that time is being wasted. There's a time where I didn't even watch Netflix for, that was almost a whole year, right? I didn't even watch any TV because I was aware I was wasting time, and I'm not where I want to be in my life. So I'm not going to sit there and waste time and complain about it, rather, also, or even be happy about where I'm at when I'm lying to myself. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to waste time. But yeah, so with that, I will leave you guys, and I'll see you next Saturday with episode 54. So, but until then, keep it viral and keep it contagious. All right. See you guys.